Okay, there we go. I think we're live. We'll see. Give a minute.
Yep. Have you
Hello, hello.
have you done a lot of lives? I can't remember.
How many have I done? No, not very many.
Okay.
Um, five-ish?
Okay.
We'll see. I think maybe a little bit more than that. But
You
okay.
just have water in your cup? Is that what you're drinking?
Yeah, I'm drinking water.
Okay. I
I was
still want to send you a tea to see if I can convert you from the berry zinger or whatever.
I think I decided this year that I need to try a tea with milk in it.
Oh, okay.
See if maybe more substance will make it better because I'm always like, this just kind of tastes like slightly flavored water.
Okay. Well, I might send you one and you can try it, but if you don't like it, it's fine.
Well, it
But
wouldn't be
it's
anything
called,
personal.
did I send it? I
No.
glazed lemon loaf, I think it was, or
Oh,
I don't know if I sent it to you. Okay. Maybe
no.
I'll have to send. Okay. It's pretty good. It's pretty tasty, but if you don't like lemon, you won't like it. But
I do like lemon.
okay. Well, maybe I'll have to send you one. You'll have to give it a whirl and see. And I do put milk in it sometimes. I mean, it's an herbal tea, but
Right.
you know, so
Huh. I'll have to, yeah, I'm going to experiment this year. Try a few different kinds.
hmm it's okay. If you only like berry zinger, it's fine. I
I,
still like your Chantal.
I want to like other teas. I
Yeah.
want to.
Are you a coffee drinker? I forgot. If you
Mm-mm.
okay. Okay.
No.
Yeah. Me and all my sticky notes and my 10,000 tabs.
Do you have a lot of sticky notes? I only tabbed it.
Well, I took them out and put them on paper so I would remember
Oh.
it. Look at all my tabs.
Oh, yeah. Yours trumps mine.
But I was tabbing things, not just things I liked, but things that like I basically her writing, like writing style. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like I'm like I should just tab the whole book because the writing style. I enjoy her writing style.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not I enjoy the story is, sometimes,
Right.
but
Yep.
I love her writing style.
I
So,
agree. I actually was thinking the other day, like, who is a modern day Ellen Montgomery?
mm-hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
who?
Oh,
I couldn't think of anyone.
yeah. That's a really good point. I'd have to think about that. Who, well, I mean, the problem is the only ones that I can think of are non-fic like memoirists,
Right.
not
Right.
fictional.
So, like, would it have fiction writing, like wholesome stories that definitely pull the heartstrings,
Mm-hmm.
and like a lot of nature incorporated?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I
Yeah.
can't. I can't think of anyone. I know some that would do like one of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll have to be thinking about that. That's a cool challenge, you know, to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Especially fiction. Because I mean, I would say like Susan Branch, she's very naturey.
Right.
She's very domestic, but it's not fiction.
Yeah.
So, and I know I like a lady, Gladys Tabor. She wrote in like the 30s and 40s in New England. And it's very like, it's not plot, it's nonfiction. It's not plot. It doesn't have any plot. It's just like her daily life. And I love her stuff, but again, not fiction. So yeah, I'm looking on my shelves trying to think of anybody. But
Maybe something will come as we go.
yeah.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm assuming you can hear us since Anna Marie is talking about the writing, so obviously she can hear us.
Oh, good.
Kept getting Anne of Green Gables vibes from this book. This was written after Anne of Green Gables.
It was written, this one was 1933. I don't know when her whole complete series, right, was done of Anne, you know.
Right. But I think didn't
Oh,
Anne like 1908 was the first one?
oh, yeah.
I don't know when she finished it. I could be wrong on that date,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
pretty sure Anne started before this.
Yeah.
And I think that's just kind of her vibe is like variations of Anne in her
Right.
good writing.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you guys are here, we have people here. Say hello in the comments. Let us know if you read the book. If you didn't, you're totally still welcome to be here because we'll just chat and we'll warn you before we do spoilers. Oh, now Amy has disappeared. I guess we will wait for her. And my camera decided to unfocus all at the same time. Here we go. There we go. You're back.
Sorry, something happened. I was trying to do something. I knew I shouldn't touch it.
All good.
I'm like, don't touch it. So I can't see anything. So you see everything, right? You're seeing if
I see the comments.
okay.
Yeah, you're on a phone, right? So
Yeah.
if you're on a computer, you could see them too.
Yeah.
But
there is a chat button, but I think, like I said, I just tried to do it and then I lost you.
fair,
I'll let you do it.
what, like, without giving spoilers, which we'll warn people before we get into spoilers, overall, what did you think of the book?
Okay, so like broad, you mean like
very broad?
Okay, yeah. So there was something as I was reading, there was just something a little bit off for me, and I could not put my finger on it. And I kind of thought as I got near the end almost, I was like, this is not really a happy book. It didn't feel happy to me. It felt lovely. There was some things in it that were beautiful, but I felt like it had like a lonely feel to it and like a sadness to it. And so, but I was just like, there's something off. There's something off. I don't know what it is. I kept asking myself if it was the characters, if it was the plot, if it was, I wasn't sure. But like I was mentioning to you before we went on, I didn't know if I was tainted by reading a biography about her, where it said that her life was a little hard at the time she was writing Pat. So I knew that going into it. So maybe that colored my perception of the book. But I just felt like, what is it? What is it? So that was my first thing was this is not very happy. And there's something a little sad and lonely about it. So how about you?
Well, Carly's comment here, she said she had to DNF the book because Judy's accent was way too distracting. I really struggled at the beginning of the book. I actually, like, the first note I wrote on my little index card was I wish Judy wasn't in the book. Because I was just like, what? Okay, read that line again. What did she just say?
Right.
I wish she could have like figured out a way to show that she had an accent without the spelling being so very different.
Yeah.
But I feel like halfway through the book, I really got into it.
Yeah.
And so it just took me a long time. And
I found somebody that read it on YouTube. And unfortunately, there was some things that weren't perfect about it. And actually, the last chapter was missing. So that was a bummer. But I thought she did pretty good with Judy's accent, the Irish accent. So that helped me a lot because that is why I continually didn't read this book, is I could not get into it because of Judy. So.
Well, there was like at the beginning of the book, I was like, oh, it's a Judy paragraph. I'm just going to not read that because they're just random stories. Anyone they're not really adding to the book. They're just about witches and fairies and like which whatever. But like,
yeah,
just like, well, I can't read it, and it's not really applicable. So.
Yeah, I felt she was like a little. Sometimes she struck me as a little manipulative, like just using the stories to kind of scare, and almost like if you don't behave, these fairies or boogeymans are gonna come get you, kind of thing. Yeah. So that I didn't love that at all. But I don't know. She grew on me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, Carly, I totally understand quitting it. I do think, like, overall, I think it's worth reading. Just skip the Judy paragraphs. And she talks less in the second half. And I don't know, she was more likable by the second half, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's so funny, like, she was such a main character, but she wasn't very likable because she was kind of.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she was very much Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why Ella Montgomery decided to make her
Yeah.
such a major portion of the book and be not super likable.
Well, and what was so interesting to me, and I don't know if this was just like a choice, like her trying to write from a child's perspective, because the book is a long span of time, so it goes quickly through. And I wonder if she was trying, the primary caregiver in a child's life is who they're going to know and see the most. So, because the mom and the dad felt like so in the background, like these like ghosts in the background, and you didn't really get to know them. They didn't seem fleshed out. And I'm like, here's a little girl. And I understand she was kind of the nanny slash housekeeper lady. But I was like, there was so much of Judy. And there was not the mom and them were like non entities. I was like, what is going on?
That was one of the notes I had written. I was like, where? There was one line. Let's see if I can figure out which tab it was here. Where she talked about her mom. Oh, okay. So this is when Jingle came for their first meal. It says the Silverbush family accepted Jingle calmly. Judy had probably warned them all. Dad gravely asked him if he would have white or dark meat, and Mother asked him if he took cream and sugar. You could always depend on Father and Mother, Pat felt. And I was like, when could you depend on them? They were never there.
Right.
And she's like, what a family. She was just so impressed with her family. I'm like, we never saw them.
Yeah. That was very strange to me that some characters were like dove into like even to the point of minutia, like Judy and
Mm-hmm.
Pat too, but then other characters you just got like this little passing glimpse of them but they were integral parts to the person's
Yeah.
life. That was strange to me. I was like, I didn't understand that.
It made me think, like, so I haven't read all of Ellen Montgomery's works, but other than when Anne is a mother later in the series, I've never read one of her books that really has a mother. Like they're always
Interesting.
orphans
Mm-hmm.
or like
Right.
there's never a mother in there. And when Anne is a mother, Ellen Montgomery takes the storyline and she focuses on the kids. She's not
Mm-hmm.
focusing on the mothering so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder how much of that plays into like how much her growing up years and not having a mother would play into that.
Right.
I feel like
That's
the few
yeah.
glimpses we have of her writing mothers when she actually writes them,
Mm-hmm.
are really great. Like she could have
Mm-hmm.
written them well,
Yeah. Yeah.
but kept asking myself what happened to her parents. Yeah, like they weren't there. Judy
Yeah.
was both parents, kind of like she
Well,
ran the place.
I don't know, the 1930s in Canada, would that have been a time where, it's not like Victorian times where the children are, there's like servants that take care of the children, or, you know what I mean? Like it didn't seem like that. And they weren't like wealthy. It's kind of seemed like they were a working class family.
Yeah,
They were farming. And so it did seem kind of strange. That was weird. Although, if you think about the later Annes, Gilbert kind of starts to disappear.
yeah.
And I really hate that because I want Gilbert. I'm like, I want to hear about Gilbert. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe she just sometimes wasn't inspired by that character, or like you're saying, there's parts of her life that she, you know, it filtered through her stories. So
Well, even like I feel
yeah,
like Anne wasn't in it much. It's a lot more Susan, right? That was their like maid
right,
lady.
yep,
She was always in the everyday things, and Anne would
yeah,
pop in a little bit here and there.
yeah.
And so I think maybe that's
And there's some similarities to Susan and Judy, kind of bossy and just a little like controlling almost or something, you know.
yeah. Oh, here's a big question: are you team cat or team dog?
I have both, but I'm definitely team cat.
Because I feel like you can really tell from Ella Montgomery in all her books. She really talks about cats a lot.
Yeah, I wrote that down too, and I was like, I love her names of like all the animals and the cats and Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah. And the cat near the end. Oh, what was? Now I'm totally blanking on the name.
Oh yeah, that was
Something.
so weird. That
Oh,
was
I didn't
such a
write it down.
it's a strange name. I'll see if I can find it too. I know what you mean, but now I'm not finding it either. Yeah. I know the dog at the end, Snickle Fritz, right?
Yeah,
Well, McGinty
yeah,
is Jingles, and Snickle Fritz was Joe's, right?
yeah.
Joe is another one that's not very fleshed out.
When all of a sudden he disappeared, I was like, wait a minute, who is he again? Oh, he's
Right.
his brother. Like,
Right.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess she just picks her characters and really hones in on the ones that she wants to talk about. Which,
Yeah. And I had to look up Cuddle's name because it's Rachel.
they're like, she's 11 and they're still calling her Cuddles. Surely she would not want that anymore.
Yeah.
Anna Marie says Jingle might have been her favorite character.
Yeah. Jingle is my favorite character too, except for I really love Silverbush. I believe Silverbush is a character.
Okay,
The
well,
house.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's really bothering me that I can't find this cat's name. I know we
Oh,
mentioned it
okay.
near the end. It's not a
I
big
can
deal.
help. See if
It's not
we
a big
can
deal.
both. Two of us can find the cat's name.
I can let it go.
You can let it go.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll be like not being able to sleep all night because you can't.
Yeah. Maybe I'll come.
You could go to Winnie's wedding. I think it was in Winnie's wedding. Let's see. I'm looking at the chapter.
I know it was mentioned near the end.
Okay. Yeah, Jingle. I feel like he could have been fleshed just a touch more, but at least we saw, we just saw him in the high points and the low points, and we saw how he dealt with his life with his mother. Um, I do think she did. I mean, really, this is kind of a coming of age story, if you think about it, for a lot of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Pat, but I didn't really love Pat until the end. Because then she was more charactered. She had grown through all of these hard things that she had gone through. She seemed a little like bratty at the beginning. I don't know, or spoiled by Judy, maybe.
And very naive, like the stories that
Yeah.
she would believe. And
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. And she just was so like, I mean, there's one thing when you're parenting a sensitive child, but this was like, Judy almost was just encouraging her to be just like over the top, like everything bothered her. And, I don't know, that was interesting to me because I was thinking like, how would I mother or guide a child that like cannot handle us cutting down one tree? Like they just lose it.
yeah.
I mean, there's a balance because I have sensitive children too. And you balance it, but it just seemed like, wow, she's kind of ruling the roost almost. But then by the end, I really thought that there was some things she learned through her life, and so I was glad because I was like, oh, thank God I can sort of like Pat,
Well, and there is a second book.
Right.
So
And it'll be interesting, right?
I don't know how she will continue to grow.
Yeah.
But
And I don't know if I can read Judy's beautiful Irish brogue without a reader because I love the reader, that I found. So
right.
yeah.
Okay, Silverbush. You want to talk about Silverbush as a character?
Sure.
I wrote down that we need to get back into naming houses, or like
I know, right?
plots of land or whatever.
Right. At first, it was a little annoying to me. It was almost like she was idolizing Silverbush above the people in her life, and it was just, and even people even called her out on it. They'd be like, "Okay, we have to do this or we have to do that." It was almost like I haven't ever read the book Gone with the Wind, but the movie Scarlett O'Hara and Tara, like she's like, oh, like she's living and dying for her land, this place. But I really I think one of Montgomery's strengths is taking, like objects and making them almost seem human. I mean, there were so many things, and she does it with nature really well, trees and the sky, but also just Pat's love of certain things in the house, the domestic, and the house itself is being like almost like, I think even I didn't mark this passage to share, but I think there was like where she thought it winked at her.
Oh yeah.
Or the window blinked or something. Yeah. Just this, that adds so much charm, I think, to the writing. And you just feel like, oh, that's so charming, So
I think that might also be why, like Anna Marie said that she kept getting Anne of Green Gables vibes. Like Anne loved Green Gables and like
Right.
the people with it, and
Hmm.
she didn't really want things to change either.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of similarities there, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I love how like just Pat's growth in I think she starts to realize that, yes, all of these parts of Silverbush she loves, but it's really the people
Yeah,
and the memories, kind of like when there's a certain thing that happens, the memories, of times past or things that happen, those people are really what makes a house a home. I mean, I don't know. I feel like she does. I hope that she does.
I find it interesting. So because she made Pat such like she really didn't like change and she wanted things to stay the same right from the beginning. And I think she was like 6 maybe when they
Right.
started.
Right.
And I feel like maybe I was a different kind of child and that's just why, but I feel like most kids aren't like that. Like she was sentimental
Hmm.
in a way that kids aren't.
Hmm.
Usually you can look back and then you kind of, become sentimental and you don't want the change and stuff, but
Right.
it didn't seem as believable in a child
Hmm.
right from the age of 6 all the
Hmm.
way through to 18, I think she is at the end.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, maybe you hit the nail on the head that it had to do with some of her real life, because had she really had a real stable home, she had kind of been shuffled back and forth between her grandparents or whatever,
Mhm.
and so maybe you're right in that. And especially knowing from that biography that this was she was writing this at a really hard time. Maybe she was putting all of that emotion into the story about the things that she had lost, or didn't have.
Right.
I don't know. I'm speculating, but
So where was she at personally in 1933?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. I mean, that's the interwar period. And they do mention, remember there's a couple pages of like actually what's going on, sort of. They talk about politics of the war, maybe once or twice, but I didn't and it was just interesting because I was like, oh, would that have been real time when Ellen Montgomery was writing this? Or was because she wrote, I mean, it came out in 1933, so I don't know when she wrote it.
Right. Hmm.
So yeah, I don't really know off the top of my head because I feel like I have so many facts about her floating
Right.
around in my head. So, um yeah, it's interesting.
Oh, I'm just flipped to a random tab that I have, and I loved this. Um, Pre Pat slapping Nora, they were comparing their houses or their whatever, and Pat's like, "But we've got a graveyard," and Nora's like, "Okay, I'm done. Can't trump that.
Right.
Graveyard, we're done."
Some of those things are so funny, just like how like staunchly she defended
Yeah.
Silverbush. Like one of the funniest things to me is when those what was the that was the um let me see here. It was the three daughters of one race.
Oh yeah.
When those two girls come over, that was just so hilarious to me. And it was just like, and she's like, by the end of the visit, if I hear quaint one more time, she told Judy. And I love the word quaint, but that girl, Dorothy or whatever, was using it as like an insult
Yeah.
against Silverbush. So that was really cute to me, I thought. But
That was funny too because they didn't get along because they were so similar. Like they were just no one wanted to be
right.
like
Yeah.
wrong or
Well, and I to be defend Judy a little bit, there are times where she kind of calls Pat out for some of her things.
yeah.
Like, well, you'll probably have this or so
Yeah, I think she did that with them. It was like, oh well, you're just the same as them. Like,
right. Yeah. I wonder how you can, I mean, because the way the reader read it, I wonder how you can write like the dialect or something where it's more easily, because it really did add a lot to Judy's character because the jokes and things came through better. When
mm,
I was reading it, I was not getting any of like the jokes, you know. So
yeah. Um, Anna Marie says she loved when Pat just shut all her boyfriends down.
Right.
And that reminded me a lot of Anne as well, actually. I think it's
Okay.
Anne of Avonlea, or is it
Hmm.
the next one? When
Yeah.
she
I
just
don't.
keeps getting all these proposals and turns them down.
She acts real kind of snooty about it, right? Like, how dare you approach a gardener or whatever. That's really interesting too. I've noticed about Ellen Montgomery's writing, and I don't know if this was because I feel some of her relatives and stuff. There's a lot of like clannishness, or like, like, oh, you're from that, the Northbridge McNeils, or whatever, and that really seeps into her stories. Well, as a 21st century woman, Western, I don't always like understand like the class, or and maybe when I read, like, I don't get it in English literature. When I read Victorian literature, that's hard for me sometimes to understand, like, oh, it's really bad that this person's trying to move up into middle class, or whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I think we have that where I live because
Oh, okay.
so my family is Mennonite, but not the Mennonite that you have in the States,
Okay.
a
Okay.
different kind of Mennonite.
Okay.
And it's very much like everybody knows exactly who they're related to. Everyone
Okay.
has 50 million relatives, and they can tell you they are third
Right.
cousins, twice removed, and
Okay.
it's important to know where you fall in the family, partly because you don't want to marry someone that's related to you. But also, like, there are families that have a bit of a, you know, dark cloud over them or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, well, you don't want to marry into that family or whatever.
So that's interesting.
And
That's
so
really interesting.
I feel like I can understand that portion. I mean, that's definitely phasing out
Okay.
in my generation here and stuff. But like,
Yeah.
I can remember my grandma talking kind of a lot about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Your
Maybe
family is
it's
very
just,
important.
do you think it was, well, I mean, there's also kind of like, I guess by the 1930s, you don't have like, because with the Industrial Revolution in the Victorian age, you had people, there was a growing middle class because people could become wealthier because of trade. But and by the 1930s, I don't know what it was like, in Canada after World War One, but it does seem like there's people that are considered, these are the wealthy. And Judy is very like she's super prejudiced against people that are wealthy, which she
Yeah.
considers are just money.
So she
And
thought Pat was dating that guy for his money.
right. Yeah. It was interesting. It's kind of interesting to, read about. Um, yeah. I was trying to think of what it was. They often hold, maybe that ties with the clans and the class system and stuff, but it seems like they hold on to grudges and like offenses. Like she writes it into her stories a lot. I mean, even Anne
Yeah.
Gilbert, the whole thing with Gilbert, for so long she just would not forgive him. And so I felt like there was a little bit of that too here, where, oh wow, she just, if you crossed her.
Yeah. If you insult Silverbush in any way, you're on the blacklist.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There was there was definitely like cynicism and like sarcastic, but she does a pretty good job sometimes too of weaving humor into it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I thought that this one was definitely a little bit on the darker side. With that, it was just like, wow, yikes, it just felt sadder. It really
Mm-hmm.
did to me.
Yeah,
So,
I would agree with that.
yeah.
Although there was a description of the hot water bottle. Oh my goodness, I snorted when I read this. It's talking about a hot water bottle is such a nice thing. You need your toes in it. When your feet were warm as warm could be, you held it close in your arms, and finally you put it against a cold spot in your back. And the first thing you knew, it was morning, and the sun was shining through the drift, and the hot water bag was unpleasantly like a clammy dead rat just beside you. Oh,
You're like, wow.
I was like totally into the hot water bottle thing until it was a clammy dead rat.
I know. Yeah. Oh my goodness. She just has such a good way with words. Um, I really loved when the chapter where Pat goes away and she's writing letters to all the
Mm-hmm.
family members. And at the end of every one, she's talking about getting her hair bobbed.
Yeah,
But I especially actually love the one to Judy, and then you get Judy's comments.
that was good.
And the lady did a really good job on the audio. And I thought it was just hilarious because I could just see myself. I could see myself in, how sometimes the things we are thinking maybe aren't the nicest things,
Yeah,
and she's just like making all these, critical comments about everybody. And
yeah.
it's just so funny. Um,
Anna Marie's husband's mom still uses a hot water bottle. She laughed at that. I was just telling my daughter the day before, possibly that same day that I had read it, how she should use a hot water bottle because she sleeps in the basement and she's always cold. I'm like, you just need a hot water bottle. And then I read her that and she's like, yeah, no, I'm never going to use one.
right. That totally stopped. Yeah, I've never used a hot water bottle. That's
Me
not
neither.
something. Yeah, I'm like, wow. Yeah.
I think that Ellen Montgomery was an introvert. There's a quote. This is like a Pat quote, but I feel like an introvert must have written this. It says, "The best part of a visit is getting home."
Yeah.
And we were
Right.
just talking about this before we started recording, Amy, about like Sunday mornings are good, but like it's really good to come home and just rest and relax after seeing
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
That was a good
Yeah.
one.
I the, I do think it's really interesting how I guess, I don't know. Is it real life? Does it seem unrealistic how much in her books everybody is gossiping about each other? I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, is this just a plot device to get information? I don't know. It just seems like,
See, this is why I think I love Ella Montgomery so much, is because like I'm growing up in the same area. So much so. Like
yeah,
she's talking about the people that live on the island, and I'm like, you're talking about the Mennonites that live around me. This is 100%.
that's cool.
Like,
Okay.
well, and it's not because the gossip thing is true.
Right. But I mean, like the regional, like you're seeing it as like probably a real thing, like a regional thing,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So she's writing from experience.
I would think so because like the island wouldn't have been very populated too, so you know everyone and what everyone's
That's
about,
true.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I shouldn't, I mean, I guess we've lived in small towns and there's been tons of, chitter chatter and gossip, and it depends on where you live, but I guess there is. It's not quite the same. And maybe it's just the time and like that clan thing.
well, yeah, and if you don't really ever move away or very far away, then
Right. And also they're not having like social media. So it's like,
yeah,
they're getting together, they're reading it.
yeah.
Remember they passed the letters from Joe to every family?
Right, yep. They got to read it, and then they came
Yeah.
back home.
Mm-hmm.
Diane says she's been using her hot water bottle the last few days. Diane, I need to know if it feels like a clammy dead rat in the morning.
I know that people knit cozies for them.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so that would probably be way
Yeah, there
better.
you go.
Yeah.
She says ND, I'm assuming North Dakota's 1960s rural party lines. Yeah, I know my mom's talked about that too. You just listen on everyone's phone calls.
Well, I still quote the movie. Is it Anne of Avonlea where she goes to Kingsport Ladies College? And remember where she forces that the wealthy lady to take her carriages out for the kids, and she's like, you can drive along criticizing everybody on the side of the street, and she's like, that's not very Christian. And we quote that all the time in my family. We're like, that's not very Christian.
Oh, I need to rewatch that.
I know, me too. I'm like, this fall I don't watch a lot, except for booktube. So I'm like, there's so many movies I want to watch, but I just don't watch a lot. So
Apparently, hot water bottles have come a long way, so
yeah,
you
I
can start
guess
using them.
so. All the cool people are using them. We got to get on the trend here, Chantal.
Yeah.
Maybe we can find a rat-shaped one. Water.
Yes. Or you just knit a rat-shaped cozy over it or something.
This is getting bad. I don't like rats.
Okay.
Okay, I was just looking at my notes. Sorry, I keep looking down. Like, what did I have?
Tell me when you want to start talking spoilers.
Okay. I do think you were talking about Pat's hatred for change, and
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I could identify that with that a little bit, but not to the level. I mean, she just like kind of pulled that out and like emphasized it a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, change. I depending on maybe your personality or the season of life you're in. I've always really struggled with change. Like I'm kind of somebody that like if you're into the Enneagram or whatever, I'm a 9. And so one of my motivations is like peace and, and keeping the peace.
Right.
Well, change, that doesn't keep the peace. It's hard. So I sort of sometimes like, I understand, Pat. Change
Right.
is, so, but the whole idea of like selfishly like keeping your family members with you for the rest of your life,
No one
that
can
was
get married.
that was a little extreme.
Yeah. I feel
So
like I'm getting that way now as I get older, but I
right.
definitely wasn't that way as a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, Anna Marie says go heated blanket. Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
I thought it was funny. One thing about that I was like, I didn't, it didn't even dawn on me until towards the end of the book that they kept, Judy refers to God as the good man above and the bad man below is the devil. And I was cracking up so hard. And like, now I'm going to start saying that. That is so, I don't know. She's like, yeah, and the good man above. And and then when I noticed it, then it was so much. It was so funny.
And because you would be listening to the audio, you would
Right.
really get that.
Right. Yeah.
So I really want to know medically what was going on with her mom.
Right.
It was really
I
bothering
know.
me that like there was never any explanation. Like,
Right.
so right from the beginning, I think it was after Cuddles was born, right?
Right.
Then she had a headache. Was none before that, or was there?
She was like weak or something. I don't know.
At first, I was like, is it postpartum depression?
Right.
But then like it never got better, and then all of a sudden there was like an operation. So I was like, well, then there must be something else going on.
Right.
And it kind of annoyed me that we never knew what was wrong with
Well,
her.
there was a lot of illness in this book, and it wasn't always, and like it, sometimes, I mean, I didn't realize like the extent of scarlet fever in the 30s. I just didn't understand that, like how serious it could be,
Right.
you know? And then I didn't really totally, I don't know, did you say we're going to talk about spoilers? Because I didn't totally understand what was wrong with Bets either,
Okay,
because
let's
she
let's
was
let's
weak.
talk spoilers just so everyone knows. They need to duck out.
Yes.
What? Trying to figure out where. Yeah, what?
Yeah.
Do you know what page that is on yours? I'm assuming it
Where, which one? Which thing?
is. Oh,
Sorry, I don't know. If you're
I
talking about Bets.
I
Yeah.
got it here.
Okay.
No, wait.
I thought that her parents, I vaguely remember that they moved to the Longhouse to get into the country, maybe for Bet's health. That's what I thought, but I maybe made that completely up. I don't remember.
So Bets had flu pneumonia.
Okay. That was it?
That was it.
Wow. Okay.
And I don't know why they ended up moving.
Remember, because the longhouse was empty and she always looked at it longingly, and then finally someone moved in there. And I vaguely, I thought maybe there was just a vague mention of something about health, like if she was like had a heart issue, or I
Well,
don't.
I know Judy. The first time Judy saw her, Judy was like, kind of
Oh,
like that girl's too angelic. She's not too long for this world.
yeah.
And I was like, right away, I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
Ellen Montgomery has done that in another book, and I won't say which one because I don't want to spoil it for other people, where she
Mm-hmm.
implies from very, very early that this character is going to die. And I'm like, I want to enjoy the book. I don't want to know, like, You know, at the
Right.
beginning of the book, what's going to happen at the end of the book?
Yeah. I
And
didn't catch that. Yeah.
I did,
Like a
and
foreshadowing kind of.
yeah, I was like, no, not again.
Yeah. Yeah. I really liked Bets. I don't know. Do you think she was too angelic? Was she too perfect? Or she was pretty well balanced, I think. I don't know.
We didn't really get to know any of her
Yeah.
flaws.
Yeah. I felt a little bit like she was a little like extra sweet, you know?
Right. And she was so
Um,
beautiful and
right.
yeah.
Yeah. That was interesting. It was like, she didn't have, I don't know why, if they were conscious choices when writing this book, or if she just poured out what she had and there it is, or
Yeah.
if she made conscious choices about which characters to actually flesh out, because it was so odd and it was so random which characters,
Yeah.
you know, she did. And I mean, Judy had just like the whole the whole folklore of Ireland she shared, you know. So she was like you could tell her preferences and like some of her backstory a little bit. You didn't hear everything, but she was like almost like the main character,
Yeah.
Judy,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, I do really love, I one thing I think she does really well, Montgomery, is the female friendships.
Yes.
I mean, if you think about a lot of her books, she really does well with that, and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite is actually Christie by Catherine Marshall.
I need to read that one.
That for the female friendships, because there's like 3 friendships in there that are just beautiful and just so uplifting. But Montgomery does a pretty good job, I think, of that. You know, I haven't seen Tolkien. Is he there?
Yeah, he's
He's
considering
playing over there. Ah,
considering trying to leave, but then I have to open the door. So
oh, he's so cute. I love long. He's a long hair, right?
yeah, he's a ragdoll.
Oh, so
Not
cute.
focusing.
Yeah. My 4-year-old sees your face and he's like, "Where's her cat?
Yeah,
Where's her cat?"
he has to be in every video. He's
Yeah.
usually in my office, and then after I'm filming for a little bit, then he's like, actually, I'm done.
I'm kind of
First,
bored.
first I
Yeah.
want to get in the shot.
Yeah, my cat is not very camera friendly. She's like whatever. She leaves right away. So,
Now he's sitting on the cord that has the webcam. So
oh
yeah,
dear.
I gotta let you up every time. See you later.
In true Pat of Silverbush, we have a cat interlude,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, there we go.
There's a lot of page time given to cats.
There really is. I was just gonna say that. Yeah, like there's the one that goes down the well, and like, and
Right.
Gentleman Tom. What was his name?
Right. Yeah.
Also, I'm pretty sure that cat just lives forever. But
Well, is it implied that, I don't know, with Judy, you never know with her and her witches and fairies, but he's almost like implied that he's some kind of omen or something, like he can
yeah,
predict.
yeah,
And there was a lot of that, you
yeah.
know.
Because there were certain things she's like, nope, that person's not gonna die. You know, Gentleman Tom. That's his name, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He hasn't told me yet, or whatever. Like,
I know. He's been fine, like his eyes, you know, like she could read his eyes and she hadn't seen the signs.
right, yeah. And he would wink, and
Yeah. Sometimes she was funny in that stuff, and then other times she was a little creepy.
well, like right from the beginning, like talking about going and getting a baby from the parsley bed, and there was another one where I was just like, okay, like somebody stop this lady already, like you stop.
Well, and Pat was really little then, so she totally, you know, little kids are literal, so she
Yeah,
totally believed Judy that it came from the parsley.
yeah.
Whatever.
And like when she sent them to this witch's house to go get the dog, and they were like, "Oh yeah, there's another witch." Like, oh dear, and like, lady just goes along with it, you too.
Yeah,
Um,
that was really strange. What was her name? I
uh,
forgot. Mary
some
Mary McLennan, Mary Ann McLennan or something.
yeah,
Or
that sounds right. Yeah, yeah. Well,
towards the end, it was kind of strange because we hadn't heard a lot of the mom. We just really hadn't. So then all of a sudden you see this scene,
Yeah.
and we're talking spoilers here a little bit, where we see the mom, she's ill, she had the surgery and all this, or operation. And then all of a sudden she's like this font of wisdom for Pat. Like we get this whole, but I really did appreciate some of the things the mom said. And I was thinking kind of like towards the end, I'm like, there is some truth in this book of just like having an attitude of gratefulness where we're planted,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, Pat was kind of like on the obsessive end of it. However, like she has to, here's a spoiler, she has to give up her teaching job, and she has, some things like that to help at home. But she really does have just this delight in like mundane things of
Yeah.
life. And that is really, as like a modern mom or whatever, that can be convicting, and it can be like encouraging, and be like, just be content in
Yeah.
like the little things, and don't, here she's so delighted about like the embroidery on the linens, and
Yeah.
and bringing in the flowers,
And all
and
the wallpaper and like the
I
windows.
know, just domesticity, just like
Yeah.
all the little, and and maybe you could argue that she goes a little too far, like we said, but I don't know, that really did. And if you don't mind, I have a little quote that the mom said.
Go for it.
Yeah. So they're talking about Winnie marrying Frank. So Winnie's the sister, and she's real broken up. She doesn't want her sister to leave because she wants. And the mom says, "Well, she's going to." And she goes, I know," choked Pat, "and I'll never, never marry Mother. I promise that. I'll stay here and keep a home for Dad and Sid and Cuddles. Sid won't want to marry ever when he has me." Again, Mother laughed. "I don't ask you to promise that, dear. I'd like to think you'll marry someday. I want you to be happy, a happy wife and a joyful mother of children, like I've been. I've been so happy here, Patsy. I was only 20 when I came here, a spoiled child, too. And as for housekeeping, I didn't know the difference between simmering and boiling. Judy taught me. Wonderful old Judy. Be good to her, Pat, if I don't come back. But I needn't tell you that. Judy was so good to me. She was even quite fierce about my working. She hated to see my hands spoiled. I had pretty hands, Pat, but I didn't mind spoiling them for Silverbush. I loved it as you do. Every room in it has always been a friend of mine, had a life of its own for me. How I loved to wake up in the night and feel that my husband and my children were well and safe and warm, sleeping peacefully. Life hasn't anything better to offer a woman than that, Patsy. And I mean, maybe some old fashioned sentiment, but to me, as a stay at home mom, that was just really encouraging. And also just like, you know, often so much of our treasure is right here, right now. And there's chances and opportunities and seasons that we get to do other things, but just that idea of like, and then also the mom kind of reminded me of Pat. Like, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, why didn't we get more of the mom?
I wish she would have been in the book, kind of like,
Right,
you know, giving these nuggets of wisdom to Pat throughout the story,
right,
not just like all at one time when she thought she was going to die.
right. Like, oh, I'm going to die now. So I think I'll impart my wisdom, because you didn't really know her well. I mean, I love that quote, but it was just strange because it was just like plopped in at the end. But I don't know. It
Yeah.
was beautiful, and I was encouraged by it.
Yeah.
So,
It is a good quote.
yeah. That's kind of all I have on my notes, Chantel. But
Yeah, no, that we've covered lots of stuff. I think I'm very glad because you gave a few different options for the book
right.
for us to do. I'm glad we did this one because I probably would have quit it because of Judy's accent, or it would have taken me like 10 years to get through.
Yeah.
I'm glad we went with this one,
Yeah.
as much as I want to read all the other books that you suggested as well.
Right. Yeah. I really wish somebody would go through and get audio for all of her stuff. I mean, that would just be invaluable, because I feel like even though, it was just a homemade production, it made like the world of difference to me to listen to that,
Right.
to the accent.
Right.
So,
Another 10 years and it will be in the public domain, and
right.
then people will
That's
be able
true.
to do it.
Yeah. I don't know. Are you going to go right on to Mistress Pat, or are you going to give yourself a break?
I'll give myself a break. I wanted to do Emily, the second Emily book. I
Climbs.
Climbs, yeah, first. But
Yeah.
like, so I have Mistress Pat here on my shelf. It's quite big. But they did this one in these editions,
Oh, okay.
but they never did book 1.
Weird.
So I've had this book for years and then
Yeah.
learned that it was book 2.
Huh.
That bothers me a little
I
bit.
know she had all sorts of, remember, isn't there like the Anne set too, where you can buy the set and one is missing or something, or 2 are missing? Because there was all these fights. Like she had different lawsuits and.
That is different series. So
Okay.
this edition
Okay.
has all 8, I
Oh,
think it is, whatever it
nice.
is. But some other ones only have like 5.
Right. Yeah. It's very strange. That's the Tundra one that you're holding, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'm having a hard time finding those here. I don't know
They're not
if.
printing them anymore
Okay.
for whatever reason.
Okay. Because I was looking at the Blue Castle one. I thought I found that on some site, but
Book Outlet often will have them randomly
okay.
still, but like
Okay.
we used to be able to buy them here at Indigo,
Okay.
and they don't really sell them anymore.
Yeah.
Carly says it's been a great discussion. Maybe she'll have the
Oh,
patience to try again.
yeah.
I think it's worth trying again, but like you can skim over, either listen to the audio or you can really skim over Judy's sections, like
Yeah.
especially in the beginning.
I could not read her section, so I had to listen. Otherwise, I really struggled.
Diane
Oh,
says
Blackwell's.
Blackwell's in the
Okay.
UK, so
Yeah. If only one had an unlimited budget for
no.
Anne of Green Gable editions or Anne anything.
Like these ones were printed in Canada and they're hard to find here.
Okay.
Do
Okay.
you want to see a spoiler of a video that I have coming up? Because I found some Ella Montgomery editions at the thrift
I
store
would
today.
love to.
I've never seen these editions anywhere before.
Okay.
Spoiler.
Cool.
So I found Kilmeny.
Oh, that is so pretty. Wow.
Definitely.
Is it like pen and ink or what? I can't see it very well, but
I don't know what it was.
it has some color on it. Okay.
Yeah.
Really beautiful. That's so neat.
So far, this is my least favorite of her works, but I was like, wow, that's
Yeah.
cool. And in the same kind of edition, this one is the Story Girl.
Oh, I love Story Girl.
Me too. This is my favorite, and I love the cat there.
Oh, it's so cute. Those are beautiful. I've never seen those before here.
No,
That's really cool.
They had to come home with me.
Yeah. I don't really collect. I mean, I'm more of somebody like I just use and abuse, so I don't have really a lot of cool editions. BookTube has been sort of influencing, but
I'm only doing that with Ella Montgomery books and Agatha Christie.
Yeah, that's smart. Pick something.
Those are like, that's what I'm allowing myself to do.
Yeah, I guess I did get for my birthday those little if I can reach it, they're the little set of the Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing is it's really small print.
It is. So, I have those as well.
Oh yeah. And that's probably my fanciest, I would say, so, but yeah.
Penny says hi, and she says you're a natural.
Oh yeah, I was talking to her. I was like so nervous. I was like, I'm gonna mess up Chantel's. These things sound so fun when you talk about them, and then you come to them and you're like,
Yeah, I understand that, and it's different like being on someone else's. If it's your own, it's your own, right? But
you're like, if I mess up, it's mine. Yeah.
No, I'm very casual.
Thanks, honey. Yeah. Well, this was really fun, Chantel. Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
Me.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me what to do. Do I just leave?
Yeah, I will end the stream for everyone. Okay. Thanks everyone for joining us. We will.
Thank you.
See you around.
Yep.
Have a good rest of your night.
Yes. Happy almost October, right?
Right. That's exciting.
Bye.